full of stories of great heroes who always did the right thing. And then you actually read the Bible and you're like, oh dear. I have 3 daughters. 10, 7, and 2. Lily, Phoebe, and Paige. They're so cute. My oldest daughter has a Bible, and it's called the Precious Moments Bible. It's got artwork of little kids looking like cherubs. And what I discovered is I would read throughout the Bible, I would come to passages like the book of Judges. If you've never heard about the book of Judges, it's crazy. It's like everybody doing crazy things. There's like murder and adultery and everything. And there's this chapter, Judges 19, where there's this brutal murder of a woman, and right next to it, precious moments. What in the world? What has happened? See, that's caused the rest of society, and even some of you here tonight, to think that the Bible must be a story of heroes who always did the right thing, and I didn't do the right thing, so clearly I don't belong in this book, and I wouldn't belong in a community like this, and I certainly wouldn't want to belong, or I probably don't belong in a church. That's why I'm confused that all these people are wearing a t-shirt that says, "We're glad you're here," because you may not believe that. Yet it's true. So why on earth, if you were meant to show the world, if you were this guy Matthew, who actually wrote the gospel according to Matthew, if you were to write that back then, and you wanted to prove to everybody that this Jesus was actually the Son of God, don't you think that you would doctor it a little bit? Like, oh, let's leave out Tamar, that's weird. Why are they there? Well, one reason is honesty. That was just the part of Jesus' lineage. And it actually proves that he is in the line of the Israelite king, David. But there's a deeper reason. There's a deeper reason that these women and these failed men are on that list. And it is because these are the types of people that God intends to save. These are the types of people who would belong to God's family. Men and women, Jew and Gentile, young and old, rich and poor. These are the types of people that were meant to belong to God's family. So, think about this for a moment. In the first century, 2,000 years ago, Matthew was writing this list, and he was actually giving a reason for why you would see what you would see if you were to enter into a first century church service. You'd walk in and you would see rich and you would see poor. You'd think, wait, what are they doing in the same room? You'd see somebody from the upper crust of society and somebody down and out, and you might be dumbfounded, like, wait a minute, like, why are these people here? Wait, she was a prostitute. And this guy was a self-righteous hypocrite, and like, why are they all here in the same room? See, Matthew is showing us, when we read a list like this, why the outcasts would have been seen in a church. So many people have this view that church is full of everybody that is clean, they don't drink, smoke, or chew, or go with girls that do. And that's how they got their place in the church. And that's why they stay away. I thought, when I was younger, I thought that if I were to walk into a church service, like literally a lightning bolt from heaven would strike me dead. Like a voice would say, well, well, well. Decided to be concerned about their soul. Bam, dead. That was my concept. And yet I read things like this and I'm like, wait a minute, this is incredible. These crazy people are all included in this list, and yet many people in the church forget it. Sometimes churches get weird. They actually begin to believe that they actually do deserve a place here because, I mean, after all, like, they didn't do anything. And of course they should be here. But it's because we've forgotten this third thing. How they are included. How they are included. How do people like this How do people like you and me get on such a list? Well, first of all, one reason is God's faithfulness. That throughout the hundreds of years represented in that list, that even though people failed time and time again, God kept his promise. Because the Bible is a story about God's promise to humanity. Though humanity rebelled against God, gave God the finger, if you will, and said, we are going to do things our way, and we are going to put things in your place, and I'm going to live my life, and I'm going to live it for me, and I'm going to do it my way, we experience death. We experience brokenness, we experience heartache, we experience evil, we experience injustice and lying and cheating and manipulating and all the brokenness that you see in your life and the lives of others. Things that you've done, things that have been done to you. We all know what it's like when people break a promise to us. Let's be honest tonight, it hurts. Okay, it hurts when somebody promises something to me and does not follow through. They break their promise. It is harmful. How many of you have had people in your life? It could be a spouse, it could be a mother, a father, a friend, even your own children, or people in your larger network of friends who made a promise to you and yet they broke it. And yet, if we're even more honest, we'll think about the promises that we have made. And yet, when you look at the Bible, it's God saying again and again, I will always keep my promise. Even when people fail. Even when people screw up. Even when people do such things. Or even when they're ruined by others. God says, I will keep my promise. Because there is more grace in the heart of God than there is sin in the heart of man. That is what the Bible says through and through. There is more grace in the heart of God than sin in the heart of man. God's faithfulness throughout the centuries is why these men and women are here, but there's another reason as to how they're included. And it's the same reason that anyone is included in God's family, and that is God's grace. When you look through all those names, it tells a story. At every turn, God is doing something. At every turn, God is acting. Until we come to one of the greatest miracles of all. You come through all these names until you see this name, Jesus, which is the fulfillment of God's promise to set things right. God is saying, men and women will fail you, but I am sending one who will never fail you, and who will always keep his promise. He will always do it. He will meet your truest and deepest need, and he's going to be born through a fifth woman that I didn't mention earlier. The fifth and final woman on the list, and her name, as many of you probably know, is Mary. A story you hear about at Christmas, a lowly peasant girl who actually wrestles with this idea that an angel shows up to her and says, you're going to be pregnant without a man. Like, I don't know. How do you act? And I don't know. We're not told what Mary went through, but she's like, question. How's this going to happen? But the angel replies, it is going to be the power of God. Now listen, put yourself in Mary's shoes. You understand that God does miracles? You're like, okay, I get that. If God exists, if God is God, He can do miracles. Okay, I can see how you could do that. But keep in mind this. If you walked around in Israelite society and you were pregnant, you weren't yet married, you would be shamed in the eyes of the community. Everyone would push you out. People would talk behind your back. They would be whispering, oh, well, we all know what happened to Mary. We all know about her. She knew what she was getting into. Then bring in her betrothed, the man that she was engaged to, this guy named Joseph. Imagine how that conversation went down. Actually, Joseph, there's one more thing. I'm pregnant. It's not what you think. We're told in the Bible that Joseph wrestled with that until God gave him a revelation that this is actually of God. God intervenes and says, Joseph, this is a miracle that I have done. And so by the prompting of God, Joseph, knowing That if he would walk around town with this girl he's engaged to, she's pregnant, he also knows what people are going to say. He also knows it's going to bring shame on his own name, shame on his family. In fact, we're told that he was wrestling with this. Gosh, do I do this? Maybe I'll just break off the engagement. But because of what God said to him, he went ahead and did it. Even though he knew it would bring shame upon himself. He puts her on his list to protect her and to show the world that Mary belonged to him. And in that story, we see initiative, we see courage, we see boldness, but nothing like what Jesus Christ would do. Because at long last, this man, Jesus, this God-man, has come, and he will never fail. For Jesus is the only truly innocent one who has ever walked this earth, who did not risk shame. He endured all the shame and all the public humiliation that you and I deserve because of sin when he went to a cross. He went to a cross where he died for my sin and your sin, all the wrong things that we have done towards God, towards others, and to ourselves, and for all the wrong things done to us. Jesus Christ went to the cross. He paid that penalty for us. He stood in our place, and when he did, he took all the shame upon himself. He took all the humiliation upon himself so that he could put you and I on the one list that truly matters.